Okay, great. So we're recording now, and I want to just start by thanking you all for joining me this evening. And thank you. I'm gonna mute everyone. Okay. Now, I've muted everyone, but I'm a fast talker. So as I go, and if anyone has any questions, you can either unmute yourself and ask me, or type it into the chat if you want some clarification on anything. So again, I want to thank everyone for joining me this evening. Thank you, Rebecca, for having me and to Emerge. I'm really excited to host this workshop for you women. And it's the core, the heart of this workshop is really about helping you with when it comes to your mindset and self-care. And as I also like to call it, self-preservation. And one of my favorite quotes is this quote, which is, "The greatest project you can ever work on is yourself." I love that. I'm a huge self-development guru. I'm obsessed with self-development and having a growth mindset. So some background about who I am really quickly. I am Marla McDermott. I am a manifestation teacher and I'm a mindset coach, and I work with visionary leaders like yourself, and I help them up level and courageously step into the next great version of themselves. 15 years ago is when that movie and the book, The Secret, came out. And that was when I discovered, thanks to Oprah, who is my biggest mentor, I discovered The Secret and the law of attraction. And since then, I've been obsessed with learning as much as I can about how the law of attraction works and how can I apply it to my own life. And I have been able to achieve miracles in my life as a result. And I am now passionate about helping powerful women like yourselves. How do you go from managing your lives to intentionally designing your lives? I also love supporting women and being of service to women by creating and building communities. I'm the creator of the Walnut Club, which is the Walnut Club is a networking and social organization for professional women. We're based in Philadelphia and the main line. We have about 150 members. It's about 5 years old. And I've been able to step down this year from running and being the president of that nonprofit, so I can focus full time on being a coach and being of service to women on a much greater capacity, and offer these workshops like we're having tonight. So I wanted to start by giving you a quick overview of what we're going to be covering tonight, which is 3 main topics, which is 1, the power of surrendering; 2, power of receiving and how we can become better and more skilled at receiving; and 3, we're going to talk about my 2 favorite mindset tools that we're going to learn tonight. One is applied kinesiology, which is about muscle testing your body and you can actually ask your body for yes and no answers. It really helps with trusting your intuition, gaining confidence in your decision making. The second one that we're going to be learning is it's called EFT, which stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. It's also called tapping, and that's about it's basically the same concept of acupuncture. We just tap along the meridian lines, and it helps release any blocks that we may have that are emotional blocks, negative emotions, negative feelings that have actually held us back in life. So we're going to be learning all that. I want to first go over with you, because I'm looking at my notes right now and make sure I don't forget anything. Before we really dive into the content, I want to first start by talking about the importance of 2 things. Before we start and again, I also learned this tip from my girl Oprah. Before we start any program, especially when it comes to like programming with the Walnut Club or any projects, I've always instilled in the team, which is making sure we're clear about setting our intentions. So as we're ending 1 year and starting a new year, 2020, and a new decade, some of you may have ended a campaign and maybe starting a new chapter in your lives. This is a really great time to reflect on what are your intentions going forward, and just getting clear on what your intentions are. The other part of that is using this opportunity to define what are your core desire feelings. Now, I discovered this work through Danielle Laporte. Danielle Laporte is an amazing writer. She's written awesome books for women, especially for women One is fire starter sessions. The other one is the desire map. And Danielle Laporte has explained that, especially as women, we have achieving goals inside out. We have it all backwards, because what happens is, as we set and achieve goals, and if we're going for the goal and we set and achieve the goals, 9 times out of 10, whenever we get to the end goal, we are still left feeling unfulfilled and unsatisfied. It's because we're chasing after the wrong things. Instead, Danielle Laporte explains that we need to go after what our feelings are. What are our core desire feelings based on how do we want to feel? And this is revolutionary. So she has a whole book. It's right here. It's called The Desire Map. So I want to introduce you all to it. If you're interested in starting the new year with using this book and going into your desire feelings. A great example, a quick story about this is how you can apply it is every January I host a vision board exercise. I hosted it last year for the Women of Walnut. And I don't just like to do the cookie cutter exercises. I like to, since I've been obsessed with reading and learning about the best mindset tools and modalities out there, I like to combine all my different tools and applying it to one thing. So how I'd start my vision board exercise is I have everyone decide and define. They do the work and they define what their core feelings are going to be for that year. So for 2020, let's think about, you maybe use this opportunity now or going forward in the future to really decide what is it that you want to feel throughout the year. And one of the women on the workshop, she is like type A personality, was not into anything woo-woo. She was hesitant to do the vision board exercise, but she said she trusted me. And she's really glad she did it because she went into the exercise with the intention of the vision board she wanted more speaking opportunities. She wanted to speak more and be more on stage and speak more. But when she did the desire mapping, and then when she just decided, when she defined what her core feelings or what she wanted, how she wanted to feel for the year, she recognized that she wanted to feel recognized. She wanted to feel recognized. And what ended up happening, so she put that on her vision board, that word, and her other core desire feelings, and she designed the board around how she wanted to feel. But the crazy thing is that when I talked to her a month later, what ended up happening that month was that she got emails from her boss thanking her for doing great work on a certain project. She got opportunities to speak at the UN. She said to me, I'm getting recognition. So it's not just like I'm not just getting speaking opportunities, I'm really getting recognized. And that matters more to me than anything. And it's like revolutionary when you look at it, when you think of going after your feelings. So, and especially as women, we're taught to repress our desires. So we should be doing the opposite, and we should be leading with our desires. So I just wanted to share my message with you with about those two intentions when you start anything new. Now, I think we need to get into the crux of the workshop, right? Sounds like a right time to do that. So I want to start the workshop by talking about, and I love this. This was also something that I learned from another woman I greatly admire and a writer who name's Elizabeth Gilbert. Elizabeth Gilbert is the writer of Eat, Pray, Love. She's also wrote Big Magic. And she just spoke on stage at the Pennsylvania Conference for Women, which I didn't see her on stage, but everyone raved about it. With, everyone, she's a really great speaker and has great TED Talks. Anyway, something that was really fascinating that she introduced me to was the fact that how important it is, like her biggest message for women right now is how important it is to relax. It's so important for us to relax. And she says this great quote, which is, martial artists know that the most relaxed person in the room is the person that has all of the power. And she says, if you want to have more power, become more relaxed. And she describes it as saying that tension makes us feel narrowed, and it makes us feel constricted, and tension creates more of a narrow vision. And that when you're more relaxed, you have, she says, it causes you to feel like your life has more value, and that you're able to see things from a broader perspective, and you have a more of a bigger, broader view of things. so that when you're able to, when you're more relaxed and you have a broader view, what happens is you're able to see things more clearly. You see opportunities more clearly, and you see things and can problem solve better than a stressed person on your team. So I love that message about how important it is to be relaxed as women, because as a creator and as an entrepreneur and as someone who's started many projects, relax was the last thing on my list. And we'll get to that next, as to how I'm a former stressed out person. So the antidote to being stressed, and how can you relax? You might be asking, well, how do we relax? A great solution is learning how to surrender. Like that segue, ladies, relaxing, surrendering, going into the first topic. So surrendering is what saved me from being, this time last year, I was on the brink of burnout with running the Walnut Club. I felt like I had the weight of the world on my shoulders. I had my foot on the gas at all times. I did not relax. I was not sleeping well. I felt, and all of this was self-imposed. I felt like I can't fail at this, and I have to put 110% into it. And my health was suffering. My marriage was suffering. And by the grace of God, we had lunch. It was actually in January. So I had lunch in the new year with women of Walnut. And one of the members of the Walnut Club introduced me to this book, and it's called The Surrender Experiment. And it's written by Michael A. Singer, who is the same author of a book called An Untethered Soul, or The Untethered Soul. And he's also on Oprah Super Soul Sunday, because it all goes back to Oprah. So by reading that book, it opened my eyes so much to, especially to the fact that surrendering isn't about giving up. It's not. What surrendering is about is giving it up to a higher power. So I'm not religious, but I identify as being a very spiritual person. I believe in God. I believe in a higher power. I believe we're all connected. So however you want to view things, the premise is just really saying that there is a higher power, and you just don't have to take everything on your shoulders. You can pass it on to a higher power, pass it on to God, and you just need to go about your daily life. And a great tool for helping you do this is, and helping you trust your intuition more, is basically surrendering forces you to pay attention more to your intuition. It forces you to lean in and listen to the whispers, because the whispers are your subconscious mind. They're your higher self telling you directions. And I call it paying attention to the little breadcrumbs in life. Another great tip that Gabby Bernstein teaches about surrendering, and she's a great author as well. And I'm going to, at the end of this, I'm going to send everyone a list of all my favorite books and references. And she has a great book I highly recommend called The Universe Has Your Back. And in that, she talks about a great way to surrender is to lean into your joy. So lean into things that make you feel joyful and that make you feel happy and alive, because that's where magic happens. And that's what we're supposed to be doing as humans. We're supposed to be joyful. And we're not supposed to suffer, and life should not be this hard. And the fascinating story about the surrender experiment was that Michael A. Singer went from living in a wooden cabin that he built by himself in the woods in South Florida. And that's when he discovered meditation. And in that discovering of meditation, he made a pact with God and said, I'm going to just surrender everything to you. I'm just going to leave it all to you. And I'm going to see what happens in life. So I'm just going to float, almost like in a floating state, and be open to and receptive to receive opportunities and to receive messages and intuitive hits, and then follow those breadcrumbs and then see what would happen in life. So in that experiment, over the course of 40 years, he ended up living in that little cabin that he built, into becoming a multimillionaire and CEO of a national medical technology company. And he opened up a temple on the property as well, and an industrial park. He did a ton. And the best part about this was he shares that basically as humans, we're so restricted on what we're capable of. We don't even understand the capacity of what we are able to achieve. And we limit ourselves. When we set goals, we actually limit it. We're shooting too low. We limit ourselves. When we put our desires in God's hands, He's able to delight us and surprise us with opportunities that we would never have been able to even choose for ourselves or know that that was even possible for ourselves. Because He would say, if I just worked and ended up making $100,000 in my lifetime, I would have been happy. I would have been fine, but I'm able to do so much more. And I have such a richer, more abundant and fulfilling life through the practice of surrendering. So I've totally embraced the book and the concept last January. And I have this whole year has been my year of surrender. And in that process, I tied back into what my core desire feelings. And that was to really feel more of service. I wanted to be more of service to women and also to feel a sense of freedom. Freedom is one of my core desire feelings. So that allowed me to decide to step away and step down from being the president of the Walnut Club a few months ago so that I could focus on doing this full time and being able to give me create a business and career for myself that I could work anywhere in the world that has internet access. So I'm not tethered to being in Philadelphia. So this is all just, it's been a great discovery, and it has to dramatically reduce my stress, and I sleep much better now. And I have a better relationship with my husband and my friends. I'm more present. And I just recommend everyone to read The Surrender Experiment. And there's another book on surrendering called Outrageous Openness, and that's by Tosha Silver. I will also list all these other books at the end of this. The second thing I want to talk about is the importance of learning how to receive, especially as women. So as women, society has taught us to be the caretakers of everyone else. We're taught by our cultures, by our religions, by society, to take care of everyone else's needs and be of service to everyone else and put ourselves last. And there's even an entire, we're coming up on, there's an entire season of giving that's happening. So the emphasis since the beginning of time has always been about the importance of giving and giving and giving. And there's like a halo effect on the giver. But has never been any language or education or discussion about the importance and understanding of how the importance of being a receiver. What about the other person on the end of those, at the end of the gifts and the blessings? Since people aren't taught, especially women, aren't taught how to be receivers, what happens is we end up deflecting things. We deflect blessings. We deflect opportunities. We deflect abundance. And a great example of this is how women deflect compliments. So, especially when people say to you, I'm sure we've all been guilty of this, when someone pays you a compliment, like, oh, that dress is beautiful, or you look lovely. And what is our first inclination to say? Oh, no, not this old thing. I got this on sale, or you wouldn't believe how cheap it was, or this is, I've had this laying around the closet. We deflect. And I just want to impart on you the importance of learning starting now, how to become skilled at receiving. And the ways that you can do that are, number one, starting tonight, start just saying the words, thank you, when someone pays you a compliment. Just say thank you. And I follow that up sometimes with, I really appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that with me. I really appreciate it. And I feel it. I allow myself to feel the compliment. And when you get into that practice of receiving, what ends up happening is it tells the universe to send you more opportunities because you're able to receive it. It's like someone is throwing a ball at you, and instead of just landing hitting you, you're actually able to catch it. So you're able to strengthen your receiving muscles and be more receptive to welcome more opportunities. And this applies to welcoming anything from opportunities to sponsors to donors to support along the campaign. It can apply to everything. Another great tool and the root, the heart of learning how to be a good receiver is having a strong gratitude practice, right? Because the more we're grateful for things, the more we express our gratitude, what happens is the more we receive blessings in abundance, right? Because whatever energy you focus on comes back to you, because we're all energetic beings, it's all energy. So the more gratitude we're putting out in the world, the more we're able to receive and welcome back to us. I recommend you to start a gratitude practice. And it's something as simple as writing 3 things every morning that you're grateful for. And I do this when I have coffee in the morning. I have my little journal, and I have like a moment to be present. And it just takes 1 minute. And I just ask you to do at least 3. You can do more than 3, of course. But just write down something you're grateful for every day. And it's a full sentence. It should be a full sentence. And a great tip is to get into a feeling, to allow yourself to feel the feeling of why you're grateful. It could be something like, I'm grateful for Rebecca for allowing me to offer this opportunity for the Emerge women, which I totally am. Like I'm going to be writing that tomorrow morning, my gratitudes. I am grateful that I have this knowledge and I'm able to share with women and hopefully help them as well and be even better leaders than they already are. So just feel a sense of gratitude and feel the feelings when you write your gratitudes every morning. Another great gratitude practice that I also learned from a member of the Walnut Club, she wrote a book. It's called Spread Thanks. And over the last 20 years, this woman, her name's Elena Anguita, she has written thank you notes, but every day. I love writing thank you notes, but Elena has been writing thank you notes every day for the past 20 years. And in that practice, she has had miracles happen in her life. And she wants to be speaking on stage and sharing this message full time. And she's going in that direction. But right now, she works full time doing sales for IBM. And she is the number 1 salesperson in her region and in her division over the entire company with IBM. And she every year is able to top her sales goals that she thinks are impossible to achieve. She's able to achieve them every year, and she owes it all to her gratitude practice and writing thank you notes. And she writes thank you notes to everybody, and like her barista, her mailman, the person who cleans her room when she's traveling. I love the practice, and I have to admit it's hard to do every day, but I just write what I do is I batch thank you cards. So like once a week on a Sunday, I'll write out a few thank you cards. And the reason why you have to handwrite them, you shouldn't have to do anything, but the reason why I encourage you to handwrite them is because there is magic when you put pen to a paper. There are studies that show that when you write down your goals, you're 42% more likely to achieve your goals. So I just believe that there's just magic there when you're connecting. It's almost like your spirit guides or your subconscious is connecting to paper and you're putting your energy into it. So I have the most atrocious handwriting, but I still write thank you cards. And it's amazing how I feel good writing them and how good people feel receiving them. I mean, don't you all feel good when you get happy mail in the mail and it's like a nice, thoughtful note that you get from someone? It makes your day. And it's just nice to be able to, as my friend Alina calls it, to spread the thanks. So the other thing I wanted to say about that is making sure I don't pass on anything else. The other last thing about the practice of writing thank you cards is that it forces you to be in a state of paying attention to when people are showing you acts of kindness. It really just makes you aware, which is what it's all about, right? Because we're living in such a state of always being busy and always on the go that it forces you to pause and reflect and pay more attention to when people just are nicer to you. And that also helps increase your gratitude practice, right? So it just shows you that there's more things in life to be grateful for. Because what you focus on expands. So when you focus on people being nice to you, what ends up happening is there are more opportunities where people are nice to you. And it's really this magical experience that happens. So the last thing I want to talk about, which is my favorite, I almost feel like I saved the best for last. I know I'm like speaking quickly here, but the last thing I want to talk to you ladies about is we're going to learn 2 mindset techniques that we're going to implement right now. And the best part about this is it's free and it's instant. Now, does it get better than free and instant? I don't think so. So instant as far as instant results. So the first one we're going to do is it's applied kinesiology. And kinesiology is, the definition of that is as a use of muscle testing to identify imbalances in the body's structural, chemical, and emotional energy. Now, this was discovered back in like the 70s by Dr. David Hawkins. And in his research, he realized that that your body is intuitive and you can come up with true or false, yes or no statements by asking your body, by testing your own body, and by muscle testing yourselves. There are muscle tests that even in his book, he wrote this book called Power versus Force. And that's a great book I recommend because it teaches you about how you can muscle test yourself for everything in life, but it helps you make better decisions with more confidence and more decisiveness. And especially if you're on the fence about something, this could be helpful if you muscle testing and getting answers to things is helpful when you are you have to make some phone calls and ask people for donations. So you can muscle test for each person that you're asking, and ask to get an idea of like what kind of donation should I be asking for, or opportunities that you should be saying yes or no to, or maybe I should go to is it worth my time attending this community event, and maybe this other community event will be better. I'd be better served going to this other event. So if you're torn between things, muscle testing is a really great resource and tool to help you with decision making and guidance. So with muscle testing, he teaches in his book Power versus Force. Oh, and the other important thing I don't want to forget about the book Power versus Force, a great theme about the Power versus Force book, especially for women in politics, is it talks about the usefulness and importance of carrying yourself in a state and going about yourself in a state of using your power versus force. Because when you're in a state of using your power and applying your power, that ends up being a renewable resource. You are always able to tap into your power and reuse it. It doesn't drain. It's like the sun. It's always there. When you are in a place of force, that ends up exerting energy, and it ends up driving you into burnout. So it just shows you, that's another tying that into surrender. It's lots of similarities there, but just learning how to use your power and trust your intuition more, and you will be less burnt out in life, that's what I feel like we all want. I definitely want that. So I'm going to show you one thing, and I want to ask you to drink your water now. If you have water handy, it's a good tip to be well hydrated for this. This is what I've read in the research, so I'm just following instructions here. So here I go. Okay. So if you're able to watch me here, I'm going to show you how to do this technique, and then I'm going to have you do it yourself and ask yourself true or false questions. So you take your one hand like this, and you take your pinky and your thumb, you press them together. And it feels kind of uncomfortable and it looks odd, but this is what you want to do. Your pinky and your thumb together with your left hand. Take your right hand, and you want to get your pointer finger and your thumb together. So it's like this shape. And what ends up happening is you kind of end up like going into the hole like that. It's like almost like you're diving your hand into this hole. This is how it looks. Okay. So this is And I can't, Rebecca, if you're trying to show me, if anyone wants to show me that what their hands are and making sure that's, I can't really see your hands, but yeah, it looks like you're doing it well. Right. Okay. Everyone. All right. So again, your thumb and your pinky together, and make sure that you're not pressing on your nail. It has to be, it's skin to skin. Great. Okay. That looks good. Yep. And your other hand, your pointer finger and your thumb. And this is because I think this is the most useful way to muscle test. That the way that they teach you in the book in Power versus Force is using your arms and stuff, and for test for weaknesses. I can't get a true 100% on that. So this, I feel like, is most effective. So we'll do a technique. We'll do a question. We'll test for true or false. So we can do, I'll start with the question of, what happens is when it's a truth, when it's a true question and you try to open up your hand, you can't open up the circle won't break. That's when you know it's true. When you test and the circle breaks, that's a false statement. And if there's also the importance of this is being very good, learning how to ask the right questions, because you may have a weakness, but it doesn't fully come across. That maybe the question may be a little ambiguous. It may be like a maybe of an answer. So we're going to just simplify this by asking questions that we know are true or false, right? So a question is, I want all to do this at home. One question is, the sky is blue, true or false? So the sky is blue. You shouldn't be able to move your fingers. It shouldn't break apart, because that's a true statement. So truth does not break. We'll do this question. And you can go like this. A good way to place it is when you put your hand, when you put this finger into this, I kind of have my top two fingers. So it's like, it goes like that. It's a little bit more comfortable doing it that way. So testing for a false question could be, the sky is yellow. See, like breaks. Donald Trump is an excellent president. Breaks. I'm assuming everyone on this call is a Democrat. So what else? Another truth could be, I live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. True. What's a false? Christmas is next week. See, it's breaking apart. It's weak. It's a weak statement. So that's just a great quick way to test for true or false. If any of you want to try this out, unmute yourselves. You're welcome to do that, and you can show me, and we can see if you're doing it right, or if you're not confident. So this is just a great little way to muscle test. And if you're doing this right, Dr. David Hawkins said that he's been able to test with this theory of kinesiology and testing for true and false statements. He's been able to test with 100% accuracy, and that you're able to test everything from if you're allergic to food, if there's any allergies in your food. So if you're gluten intolerant and you're about to eat a meal, or you're not sure if something has gluten in it, you can actually test and see if it has gluten. Like, does it have gluten, yes or no? And that's just a really useful tool with decision making. So before we move on, I just want to see if anyone has any questions about that. If they didn't find it accurate for the true or false statements. Okay. So next and last but not least, I want to teach you a great tool that I've discovered a couple of years ago, and it's called Emotional Freedom Technique, and it's EFT. It's EFT for short. It's also called tapping, because you tap along your meridian lines, just like so instead of acupuncture, you just use your two fingers. So basically, at the power of your fingers, you have an ability to release any blocks that are any emotional blocks that are holding you back It might be something that, and could be anything that's causing you anxiety, that maybe it could be something that's preventing you from maybe speaking on stage, speaking more clearly or confidently in front of the media. Something that, prevents you from sleeping well at night. EFT is really helpful for anything. I've used that. You can use this on yourself. You can use this on other people. My mother is the most high anxiety person I know. And when we went on a plane, on a flight, she was through the roof with her anxiety. And I was able to do EFT on her, calmed her down completely. And she was able to have a calm, restful flight. It was amazing. And she was like total believer. And it does seem totally woo-woo, but it works because it's all about, we do have meridian points and we do have an energy line going throughout our bodies. And when there's a block in that energy line, it does block us up. And there's things that are blocking us and preventing us from living our best lives and preventing us from taking that big risk or taking that leap because we have things that are just holding us back. That could be from past trauma, a negative experience. It could be something negative that someone said to you when you were a child. That's all there. And this is just EFTs allows you to release it. So I want to show you how to do that first, I want to just show you how to tap where the meridian points are and how to tap, and then we'll all do it together. So the meridian points are, and I'll do it once, so and then we'll do it together. So just to watch me and this exercise where you like want to tap the side of your hand, your left hand, or you can do this a karate chop technique. This helps you balance out your left and right sides of your brain, and it balances, just calms your central nervous system. And it just creates a balance. So you always want to set your intention or question with this technique. So the lines are this, and it's like eight places that you tap, and you want to tap at least 7 times on the areas. So the points are here on the side of your eye, right here by where your eyebrow starts, one. On the side here is another point. Below your eye here, in between your nose and your lip here, above your chin here. Then there's a spot right here, like where your collarbone is, and then it's like right here as well. It's like this. I just like to pound around it, tap around it. And you want to get the side of your arm, like right where your bra line is, right there. And then you end with the top of your head. And I want to state, there's no wrong way to do this. That's the fascinating part. You cannot screw this up. You can't. You cannot screw this up. It's the best part about this. So many different practitioners have different ways of doing this, but it all roads lead to Rome, right? So it all works. So I'm just going to show you the most basic. And there's a couple people that teach us, but Brad Yates, I'll put his, he has tons of different videos on different tapping to get to different solutions and resolutions, like for sleep, for stress, for anxiety. There's you can tap through more prosperity to help you welcome in more abundance and more donations, and any money blocks that you may have as well. You can tap to release money blocks. So the most basic is this. So we're going to start by doing this. I want to ask you all to just start, and when you start, you do a check-in with yourself to see where you are, because after you do the test, the tapping, you want to be able to gauge where you are to where you were to where you are, to make sure that you have an improvement, that you experience and feel an improvement, right? So let's just do a check-in with ourselves. I want to ask everyone to first, before you do it, I want to ask you to first take 2 deep breaths. And after you take those deep breaths, I want you to check in with your body and just feel where you are as far as your stress level is. And just kind of ask yourself, like, where do I feel in the level and the stress, maybe like from a scale of 1 to 10, like where am I feeling right now? So everyone just take 2 deep breaths. To do this by following me by taking a deep breath. Okay. So you probably should feel a certain place of where you are in your stress. So now we're going to do this very simple technique, which is we're going to start with this. We're going to start with by stating the problem and stating what it is. We're going to tap through. We're going to do one round of tapping through, because we start by doing this with the karate chop. And then we want to hold the negative thought in our mind and tap through. So we're going to do the exercise of, and you can say it to yourself, you can say it out loud, but we're just going to say the words like my stress, tapping here, my stress, this stress, side, the stress that I'm feeling, the stress, underneath your eye, the stress that I'm feeling, the stress, under your nose, the stress that I'm feeling, the stress that I'm feeling. And tap here in your collarbone, your sternum, the stress that I'm feeling. Tap on the side, the stress that I'm feeling. And then we're end to the top, the stress that I'm feeling. Okay, and then just take a deep breath. How do you feel? Do you feel a little bit better? Yeah? Okay. So that's just a very basic. We can go into this further and deeper, but I didn't want to take up too much more of anyone's time. So I want to just ask and open this up for any questions. We're at the end. I want to just ask anyone if anyone has any questions, we can have a Q&A discussion, or I can just show you, go a little bit deeper about EFT. So let me unmute everyone. See if you have anyone has any questions. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. And you are Anne.
I am. Hi.
Hi. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Thank you. It was nice to be invited.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that Emerge and Rebecca gave me this opportunity. So, what's your question? Do you have a question?
Actually, so what do you call that technique you were just showing us?
This is EFT, or it's also called tapping.
Now I see Michelle. No, I don't.
So do you want to hear here's a crazy thing about muscle testing? Well, I know you asked about EFT, but the muscle testing I want to share, because I just noticed that we have 7 participants that are on the call right now. So the funny thing about muscle testing and using this technique that we did, when I asked, one thing I didn't mention about this is that through Dr. Hawkins' research, that the fascinating part about this is that you yourself don't have to have the answers. It's not just about your own higher self and your own intuition. He says there is a collective consciousness that we're actually tapping into. So let me mute. I'm gonna mute everyone else. So if you have any questions, just unmute yourself. We're just gonna mute everyone for now. So the funny thing is that there's a collective consciousness that we're tapping into, and that's also what we're asking questions on. And something as silly as when I was discovered this technique, because I couldn't find, like, the muscle testing with using your arm, and if it was weak, it was a no. That wasn't as accurate for me. So when I discovered this, it was around the same time that I was on YouTube, Magic of YouTube. I discovered that YouTube has tons of videos on EFT and kinesiology and muscle testing. So my husband was playing a video game and he had to go in a direction of left or right. And he was like, which direction should I take? And I said, let's muscle test for the answer. And we did. And he was like, okay, I'm going to go this direction. And it ended up being the right direction. It was so funny. So for this call today, I said, well, let me muscle test on how many women are going to be able to show up for the call. And you start with, so this is useful for help coming up with a money or figure for asking someone for donations, right? So you want to start with a number and then you continue up. So you can start with like, oh, should I ask this person for a $25 donation? And then it's yes or no. And then, okay, if it's yes, then should I ask this person for a $50 donation? And it's still strong. It's yes. So then when at the weak point, that's when you know, okay, that gives you a gauge of, okay, well, between this is the range I'm going to ask for donations, or this is how much I can expect from someone. So it's almost like this secret weapon kind of tool that we could use. So when I tested to see how many women would participate or show up tonight, 7 was the number, and we have 7 women on the call. So I don't know. Is it just a coincidence? And then hopefully there'll be other women that will watch this replay later. I don't know how many people because this is going to go on YouTube as well, that other women can access and watch. But it's just fascinating. But yes, Anne, so to answer your question, this is tapping through our meridian points. And there are tons of practitioners, like I mentioned, on YouTube. Brad Yates is one of them, and Nick Order, I believe is his name. He has a ton. He and his wife, and there's books. Cute cat. Wants to get in on the action. So there's lots of books, lots of resources. There's books on specific topics and areas that help you use EFT to help you with things. There's books on using EFT to help you with just all of your money issues, all of your money stories and money blocks. There's books on that. There's books on helping you with public speaking, helping you with show up with more confidence. Again, helping you reduce your stress and anxiety. It really is just such a useful tool. And it helps. There's women that have gotten off of relying on Ambien as a sleeping pill to get to sleep at night because they use EFT. There's just, and kinesiology these are great, free, useful resources that are just not widely known and used. And I don't know why that is. Maybe because no one's really can make a lot of money on it. Like there's just no money, right? It's free. And, and it's just a shame that more people aren't aware of these resources. Yeah. Does anyone else have any other questions or want to talk about anything or curious about anything and manifestation things? Or
this is Sandra. I do have a question about the muscle testing.
Yes.
So it seems like you've been answering questions that you don't really know the answers to. So how does that work? Is that when you get to your sort of underlying gut feeling, then your body reacts or your muscle reacts if you never knew the answer, true or false?
So are you saying, so your gut tells you one thing, but your muscles, because your gut could be telling you, all right. So if you're familiar with Marianne Williamson, who is running for president, I don't know, is she still even in the race? I don't even know. But she teaches in her, Marianne, is she, I'm sorry?
I said, yes, familiar with her.
So she teaches in one of her books, I think it's Return to Love. She teaches that we're all, everything is about love and fear. Everything is divided between love and fear, right? Everything can be boiled down to those two things. And so your stomach, the feelings you get in your stomach could be either fear fluttering, nervousness, or it could be excitement. So that's why they say like muscle testing is more accurate, because you could have like a feeling in your, you could feel nervous about something if you should do something. For instance, if you should take an opportunity to speak on stage, or if you should talk to the press about something, you might feel nervous and not sure whether or not that's nervousness or if that's excitement. And then you can muscle test by doing this to help you get to an answer that you're more confident about. It's just giving you, instead of like flipping a coin, I guess, like it just gives you some direction and guidance that you feel a little bit more confident in your decision making. Because they've said that, I've always read that the biggest strengths of really good leaders are their ability to be decisive and to make decisions and then stick with those decisions. And I'm a Libra, so by nature, it's harder for me to make decisions. I'm always weighing the scales and always, considering everything. So it's just really helpful. Like, this is just, even with something as simple as, what time should we start this? Should we start this webinar at 7, 7:30, 8 o'clock? You can muscle test to even help you come up with the answers for that. And it's all about the questions you make, the questions that you ask. Because the more you practice doing this, muscle testing, the better you will be at asking more specific questions and more targeted questions and not less ambiguous questions. That's also a really important part, is like getting the clarity of your questions so that you get more clear, definitive answers.
Okay, thank you.
And we are almost at 8 o'clock. So it's great. So I'm glad that we did not go over. Because I really don't want to take up too much of your time. I really wanted to cram a lot of things into a short amount of time, because I could talk about the practice and of surrendering for more than an hour. I could talk about receiving for an hour. I've hosted workshops on this. So I'm just giving you the crash course and like just giving you a broad overview, so that you just are aware of these tools that are available to you, and just to help you strengthen your mindset and help you with, your resiliency a little bit more, as you go forward in this next chapter that you're on. And as you go into this new year. And, so I'll be, like I mentioned, I'll list a bunch of all the books and the videos that are useful. If you want to learn more about this, I'm available for coaching as well, if you want to work with me. But I just wanted to make sure you women are, whatever I can do to serve you, because I feel like you are all on the front lines. You're in politics. You are being of service in such a great way for women. So whatever, like, this is such a joy and a pleasure for me to be able to contribute in this way, to just help you in any way I can and be of service. So if anyone has any questions, you will have my email address. I'm available to answer questions as well. And hopefully this is a start of a whole new relationship with Emerge, and you'll be seeing more of me in the future, and hopefully in in-person workshops and whatever else.
I just want to say thank you so much. This was so great. I'm so glad we got to do this for our first, webinar. Really appreciate it. Whoops. Sorry. I think my internet there was failing. But thank you so much. I think this was so great. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity, Rebecca. And you'll be getting a handwritten thank you card from me. This is so great. Thank you for this opportunity. And I'm going to post this video on YouTube, and that's the link that we'll share for everyone else who wasn't able to participate in person or live, I should say. Okay. Bye. Bye, Anne. Bye, everyone else. Thank you for your time. Thank you all so much, and enjoy the rest of your evening. I hope this was helpful information.
It was. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.